Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. A quick preview and prediction for Mairis Briedis versus Yuniel Dorticos. Now this fight is obviously the World Boxing Super Series final in the Cruiserweight division, and it goes down on the 21st of March. So fast approaching, and in this fight the IBF Cruiserweight title will be on the line, and also the WBC Diamond Cruiserweight title that will also be on the line. I've got to say, I really am looking forward to this fight. I think this fight will pretty much guarantee violence. Both guys are punchers, both guys can be very exciting, and the Cruiserweight division just has a habit of delivering great fights. I mean, I would make the argument in the past decade, certainly in regards to pure entertainment factor, the Cruiserweight division has been the best division in boxing, full stop. I think you can really make the argument we've had some great fights in the Cruiserweight division, and I expect this to be another one of those, to be honest. I think it's going to be a great fight. I really like both fighters. Mairis Briedis, I've been following his career for quite some time. He really burst on the scene when he went up to heavyweight and knocked out Manuel Char with one punch. Great performance. And yeah, I've been a follower of Briedis for quite some time. I really believe in the guy's ability. I think he's a tremendously talented boxer. Doesn't always show it at times, but I think he's got tremendous ability. And as for Dorticos, he is pretty much the anti-Cuban. He's a Cuban fighter, but he doesn't fight in that traditional Cuban sense, like, you know, being a back foot boxer and things like that. No, he is the polar opposite. He is pure seek and destroy. He'll try and walk you down behind that solid jab, and he'll try and take you out with that right hand, which carries genuine power. And Dorticos' nickname, the KO Doctor, is one of my favourite nicknames in boxing. It really suits him to a T. A very aggressive fighter and very exciting. So I like both guys, and I really am anticipating a very good fight between these two. Now, let's touch on the tail of the tape. Yuniel Dorticos, the IBF champion, he has a record of 24 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws, 22 of his 24 wins coming by way of knockout. He is an orthodox fighter, whereas Mairis Briedis has a record of 26 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws, and 19 of his 26 wins come by way of knockout. Dorticos is listed as 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, whereas Mairis Briedis is listed as 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. So Dorticos is the taller, longer man, and he's a more bigger guy in general, you know, in terms of like just body mass, I guess. It looks to me like that guy cuts more weight to make cruiserweight than Briedis, so I'm assuming he's going to be the heavier man in the ring. Can Dorticos make the most of his physical advantages? Potentially, you know, if he gets his tactics right. I do believe that could be a factor in this fight, but we'll get onto that in a moment. You know, both guys also, you know, if you look at their records, they're both punchers. In regards to the power, who hits harder, who's got more one-punch power, I would say it's comparable. You know, I've seen both guys score nasty knockouts. Dorticos has a higher knockout ratio, but that doesn't necessarily mean he actually hits harder. But yeah, both guys are genuine punchers, and in this fight, there basically is very little room for error, in my opinion. And in my opinion, one guy makes more mistakes than the other. We'll get onto that in a bit. And in regards to the actual experience of both guys, I mean, both guys have been put in there pretty tough. You know, Briedis has fought Glowacki, Alexander Usyk, Mike Perez, Marco Huck, Ola Duradola, Manuel Char. Briedis has fought really good competition, as has Yuniel Dorticos. He's fought the likes of Matthias Masternak, Murat Gassiev, Dmitry Kudryashov, Yuri Kalenga. You know, he's fought Andrew Tabiti. So both guys have fought competition, both guys have been in tough fights, and both guys are battle tested. You know, these are proven fighters going at it, proven fighters who can punch, proven elite level cruiserweights. In regards to the style clash, now I do believe this fight favours Mairis Briedis, Briedis, out of the two, is the more technically proficient boxer. He is the guy who is the counterpuncher. He will set traps. He will walk you into shots. He's a very effective counterpuncher from the outside, and especially at mid-range. And even on the inside, he's a sneaky puncher as well. So Briedis is comfortable at all ranges, but he's particularly dangerous in the mid-range. And against like a come-forward fighter like Dorticos, that could prove to be vital in this fight. In this bout, I just believe basically Briedis just needs to fight his fight, But to me, Briedis is the stereotypical hot and cold fighter. When he's on, he looks immense. He looks amazing. He looks genuine, elite level. He really does. But Briedis has a habit of having off nights. Sometimes his timing's a bit off. Sometimes he looks lethargic. And sometimes he just doesn't look all there. And we've seen this a few times in Briedis' career. You go back to that fight with Noel Givor, a fight, in my opinion, he lost. He looked terrible in that fight. Wasn't letting go of his counter punches. Looked, fairly predictable. Low punch output. That was a really poor performance from Briedis. Also the Mike Perez fight. Another fight where Briedis really kind of struggled to impress. But on the flip side, against the likes of against Marco Huck and Duradola, Manuel Char, in these fights he looked like $1 million. He looked dynamic and he looked like a deadly counterpuncher. So Briedis is hot and cold. And I think that aspect of Briedis' game can actually make it hard for you to pick him in fights like this. It does make you second think it. But in my opinion, if Briedis is at his best, he is the clear favourite in this fight. Like I said, he's an elite level counterpuncher. And while Dorticos is very dangerous, he's physically imposing, he can punch hard, he's big, he brings the pressure, but he leaves a lot of openings for you to exploit. We saw that in the Gassiev fight where, Dorticos was having actually a fair bit of success early on. He was getting his punches away, but after a while, Gassiev started to find the home for his counter punches, the counter left hook, the uppercut, and he was slowly chopping Dorticos down, and then he knocked him out in the 12th round. So, Dorticos, he'll apply pressure, but he will ship punishment in doing that. And I really think that's a risky game to play with an elite level counterpuncher with power. And especially if Briedis is switched on. I think sometimes people really underestimate Briedis' power. That guy can really, really punch. And, as we know, Dorticos has been knocked out before against Gassiev, and he actually got dropped earlier on in his career as well. So he can be hurt. And against Briedis with that style, it could be a recipe for disaster. But on the flip side, if Briedis is, if he's having an off night, he's going to have his hands full with Dorticos. He really is, because the guy's physically imposing, like I said. He punches hard. He's got a ramrod jab. And if he's not on it, he could easily get beat in this fight. He could get outworked and he could get beat up and roughed up. So Briedis really needs to be switched on in this bout. He needs to be, razor sharp in regards to his focus, and he needs to be taking those counterpunch opportunities. Dorticos, I do believe he can actually improve and do things that will give him more success. And that basically involves just tightening up a little bit more, Like I say, Dorticos doesn't really have much regards for defense in this fight. I would like to see him apply the same pressure, but behind a nice tight high guard, because Dorticos has a really good jab on the front foot with real power. So if Dorticos can walk Briedis down with a nice tight guard behind a ramrod jab, that could actually be really effective, trying to reduce the counterpunch opportunities for Briedis. Even a nice high guard will go some way in doing that. And obviously behind that high guard, throw out that right hand, bring it back to your chin, and just be really nice and compact. That's one thing Dorticos doesn't really do well. He applies the pressure, but he doesn't really stay compact. Sometimes he loses his shape, and like I say, against an elite level counterpuncher, that can be a recipe for disaster. So Dorticos can improve, and actually, even if Briedis is at his best, I still believe he can give Briedis real problems if he tightens up. And, that high guard will be key, and also that jab. Briedis at times is also a guy who likes to fight in his own rhythm. So if Dorticos is kind of standing off with Briedis, I would like to see Dorticos actually use that long jab, because as we know, he's got a longer reach. So at range, don't be scared to pop that jab. I know Dorticos isn't the outboxer here, but again, a ramrod jab, a long jab can go a long way. And I think the jab of Dorticos is something he uses well in regards to offense, but in regards to distance control, he really doesn't do it enough. So when both guys are at distance, at range, kind of feeling each other out, I want to see Dorticos actually use that jab to pick up points and keep Briedis at bay. But ultimately, this fight, if these guys fought 10 times, I would pick Briedis to win more times than he lost. But I'm sure in those 10 fights, Dorticos would win 2 or 3. So it's one of those fights where I make Briedis a favourite. I just believe he's got more tools, he's more dynamic, he's the more technical fighter, and on top of that, he's got real crunching knockout power. So when you add all of those factors together, I make him the favourite. Usually a good boxer beats a good brawler or a good pressure fighter, and that's how I feel about this fight. Dorticos, he certainly has a chance. He can certainly knock anybody out in the cruiserweight division with that power, and he'll certainly give anybody problems with that size and pressure, but I'm leaning towards Briedis in this fight, and I would say Briedis gets it done by stoppage, more than likely late on. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really hard, grueling fight for Briedis. I really do. But ultimately, I believe he's got a little bit too much class, a little too much guile. And yeah, I expect Briedis to win this one by late knockout. But a very good fight. An excellent fight in the World Boxing Super Series. As I say, this is the final of the Cruiserweight tournament. And again, I've got to shout out the Cruiserweight division, one of the best divisions in boxing, a division that has consistently delivered year after year after year. It's been a great division, it really has. But yeah, Briedis versus Dorticos, I have Briedis in a hard fight, late knockout. Share your thoughts below. How do you see this fight going? Peace.